Hello, and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with...
Justin DeClue.
And Colin Cunningham.
And this week, we pay tribute to a director that you may or may not know about, Albert Pyun.
But you've definitely seen some of his movies.
Probably, yes.
I've seen movies that I didn't know that he directed. But especially the two that we watched tonight.
And we're specifically doing this episode because I wrote a book on writer-director Albert Pyun, a man who has made 44 feature films.
Oh my God.
Started in 1982 and is still making them right now with his own money. He just
That's
loves
insane.
making movies. And he doesn't do it for money. He doesn't do it for fame. He does it because he loves to make them.
He does it for the ladies.
Yeah, that's
He's a true artist.
And we're actually starting with his first picture, Sword and the Sorcerer from 1982. So, Colin, you have some background with it, right?
Yeah, this brings me back. I remember my Uncle Harry. When was this movie? Like
82.
Okay. So my Uncle Harry, he was one of the first guys, I think, in Toronto to have like his own video store back, before VHS.
Harry's Video.
Probably Harry's Video
Probably
or
was
something like
called
that. And you go to his house and he would have this big wall of just videos, like movies, like The Road Warrior and all the Friday the 13th movies in like the official cases from his video store. And it was just like the greatest thing. I didn't have a VHS player at that time. You'd have to rent them from gas stations and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, this was before that. So he had a VHS player, and in order to watch movies, you'd have to go to the gas station. So you'd have to rent these VHS players, and they came in gigantic orange protective cases, like way bigger than a suitcase.
Like a clamshell case.
Next to the gum rack would be VHS tapes, and you had about like 10 to choose from. And
I used to rent Genesis machines, like video game machines for the weekend because we didn't have our own.
From where?
West Coast Video.
Oh.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so going to like Uncle Harry's house, it was like being in a candy store. Like you never seen anything like it. And we could watch all these movies that I wasn't allowed to rent. So we just hole up in the basement. And then Sword and the Sorcerer. It was Sword and the Sorcerer and Conan the Barbarian and Road Warrior were ones that we really loved.
And would you walk toward the beaded curtains? your uncle's like, no, not there.
No, don't go down there. That's the laundry room.
I have a vivid memory of walking past the beaded curtain being like, what's in here? Because it was part of the horror section. And that's where pornography was for the younger people in the audience. So, Sword and Sorcerer, you see this movie.
Yeah.
The cover, it's painted.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It had the iconic cover, right? Which is pretty badass looking.
It's
Frank
pretty
Frazetta
awesome.
ripoff.
Yeah, totally.
And you watched the movie, and did you have fond memories of it? Because when I brought it up, you were
Totally.
like, I don't remember much about it.
I don't remember much about it. All I remember is obviously like the tri-bladed sword that he has.
the rocket-powered
Which is
tri-bladed
amazing.
sword.
It's true.
He's got like 3 swords all lined up in a row, which must be so heavy, by the way. But, it looks like tinfoil in the movie. And the blades can fire off like projectiles and impale people. It's so fucking amazing.
And they fly like 90 feet in the air.
exactly.
And it's one of those things that it's not even executed like fast. Like it's all kind of clunky. But when you're a teenager and you see something like this, it's like, I have never seen this in movies before.
Yeah.
This is like Colin's favorite author, Michael Moorcock. And bringing it to the screen, and stuff like this had just not been seen. I mean, these kind of movies all came in the wake of John Borman making Excalibur, which was a massive hit.
Now, that's funny you say that because I assumed they all came after Conan the Barbarian. But this is the same year as Conan the Barbarian. When was like Excalibur? Like 81?
I think it was 80 or 81. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So like Excalibur led to Beastmaster, Conan, like you said, Deathstalker.
Yeah.
This movie has a lot in common with Deathstalker.
Barbarian
It does.
Queen, The Barbarian, starring the Barbarian brothers.
Hawk the Slayer. Has anyone seen that?
Yeah, Hawk the
Yeah,
Slayer.
Hawk the Slayer.
But it was like, I remember when I was a young kid, I was really into D&D back in those days. So like any sword and sorcery.
So this was like, whoa.
Right up my alley. You know what I mean?
And like this one has nudity in it. It's violent. It actually came after Conan, and all that violence in it was added against Albert Pyun's wishes.
I could tell.
Because it's all edited weird.
Yeah.
And like someone will be hit by a sword and it'll cut to a close up of a head splitting.
Yeah. It's so weird because as we were watching it, I'm like, man, there's no violence in this. It's like, I remember this being more violent. And then as it went on, it's like, okay, there's boobs. And I was like, is this R-rated, and then near the end, it's like a couple of shots, especially with the head being split open. It's like,
Yes.
okay,
There's
this
a
is
couple
insane.
of gruesome exploding body parts
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that.
And for people that don't know what the plot of this film, I'm not even going to try to explain it because
Who
in
knows?
classic Albert Pyun fashion, it is very convoluted.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's like an evil king who became king through nefarious means, who is played by John Lynch.
Richard Lynch.
Richard Lynch.
Famously burned actor from Invasion USA.
Yes.
And that other movie that we watched,
That one.
Something USA.
Terror USA?
No, but it was something like that. Remember, it was about the film crew, and then like terrorists
It was a
come.
David
I
Pryor
don't remember
film.
what it was.
Action USA?
It's something like that.
Yeah.
Look back at our past episodes; it'll be in the title.
Obviously, we don't know.
So then there's this other guy who is supposed to be king, and our hero knows him or something, and he's gonna reinstate him as king.
Our
I don't
hero
know.
is the son of the disposed king, and it's very confusing. Because
Okay.
there's
Then
also a
shouldn't he be
princess
king?
Well,
and
let's-
a prince that wants to take the throne.
Let's start it off. So Richard Lynch. It opens with Richard Lynch, and he goes to some like mysterious
Crypt.
island.
Yeah.
He resurrects a sorcerer who's like Richard Mole from Night Court.
He looks like
And-
an orc kind
Yeah,
of.
he looks like exactly. He looks like an Urukai or something.
Yeah.
He raises him and he says, "Look, I've been trying to defeat this king. Help me out, and then I'll help you."
And then the
somehow."
sorcerer's like, "Look how badass I am! I look like I'm covered in jam, and
And
also
he-
look at me rip a guy's
He
heart
he
out."
kills the witch who resurrected him. Not nice.
No,
He can like pull people's hearts out with the force.
Got telekinesis.
And he has little glowing
I
fingertips.
can't wait to see this again. Oh, wait, you don't, because there's
Yeah.
a jump where I think text just says, "And then the sorcerer and the evil king went and conquered the kingdom."
Yeah, you don't see it.
No, you don't see it.
And then the next time you see the sorcerer, he's like, "Okay, now fulfill your end of the bargain." Richard Lynch stabs him and throws him off a cliff, and that is the last you see of the sorcerer until the very last scene almost of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah,
like,
he
okay.
double crosses him.
And then Richard Lynch kills Talon's parents, this little boy, and the boy's like grabs this giant 3-bladed sword.
And like impales like two of the bad guys. I wonder after he uses the sword,
How do you reload
how
it?
do you
I don't
reload
know.
it? Does he have to go and like get the blades
It
and pull
looks
them out?
steam powered because steam shoots out of it when it goes. You have to crank it.
Do you have to like reforge the blades
Yeah,
and
I
stick
guess.
them on? I don't know. It's very unwieldy.
And in some scenes, Talon's actually sword fighting with the 3-bladed sword.
Yeah.
And I think the implication is if you have 3 blades, it's extra strong.
Yeah, it's
because
like-
he's like cutting swords in
It's
half.
like those Schick razors, it's like the
7 blades.
the Mach 3.
Oh no, I got the one that shoots them out. Just stab myself in the
close
throat
as
with my
shave.
Schick blade.
Oh,
So, yeah.
So, yeah, we flash forward, and Talon is now played by Lee Horsley, who's an actor.
He did not get along with Albert Pyun.
Okay.
oh.
I was like, I know the name. Like, who is this guy? And I looked him up, and he was in a TV show called Matt Houston. He has a mustache in the show, so he's very recognizable. But
And Lee Horsley is a wisecracking rogue, if
Yeah,
you will.
a
Likes to
rogue.
wear furry jackets.
Yeah,
terrible.
he wears
Everyone's wearing like
pelts.
really awkward robes and
There's a lot of
cloaks.
clothing in general.
Yeah.
He's a mercenary. He loves to do quips. He beats people up with chicken legs.
Yep. Gigantic
He
chicken legs.
forces women to have sex with him.
Yeah. Oh, if I do your mission, you'll fuck me.
And you better be pretty when you do it, is what he says.
Oh yes, I like my ladies.
Oh, and I just want to
perfumed.
test you out first, so I'm just gonna make out with you. Anyway, so that's a sidebar.
Yeah, he's a scoundrel.
Turn to the page in my book where I write, unfortunately, Albert Pyun gives into the sexist tropes of the genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't really like this movie that much. I thought it really picked up in the third act.
Definitely, yeah.
But it's not like my genre.
Me and Colin were just like high-fiving with our shirts off the entire time.
Eating like big mutton like
Yeah, no, I
chops
was going to
and-
say we're children, so we're eating like, I assume, Freezies and Dunkaroos.
I don't really know any like movie in this genre that is like one of my favorites. Not to say I hate it. but
What, King Arthur, the one that Antoine Fuqua made?
I guess like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is the closest, probably the closest.
It wouldn't be
thing.
considered a sword and sorcery
No, it's-
film.
Although they had like witches and sorcery in
I
that
don't remember
movie.
that film.
Remember
Very
Alan
well.
Rickman's
Yeah,
his-
it turns
he had-
into a demon dog
no,
at the
he,
end.
he had that crone, that like witch lady who would,
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
pull
Yeah.
spells and stuff.
Okay, well, we've tried to explain the plot. So, yeah, Talon wants to defeat the evil villain. That's all we need to know.
Well,
And
actually,
then
like,
he does eventually.
Yeah.
Simon McCorkindale,
Great name.
famous British actor Simon McCorkindale, he's like in line to the throne.
Yeah, he's a
proper.
prince who wants to be a king as well.
He gets captured by Richard Lynch and is locked up in the dungeon, and then his sister hires Talon to rescue the brother. And
Can someone
hijinks
explain
ensue.
to me why every male in this movie wants to marry the princess?
Because if they marry the princess, they become the king.
But he's
yes.
already the king.
No, because he's the
Richard
prince.
Lynch.
Oh, yeah, but if they kill him, I don't know. This
And
is
then
very
the
convoluted.
evil sorcerer, who is actually the orc in disguise, also wants to bang this chick. It's like there's prostitutes everywhere, and it's like, oh no, she's just pretty because she's a brunette or some shit. I don't know.
It was like that blonde woman who was kind of Cromwell's sort of concubine or
Yeah.
whatever. In the credits, she's just listed as Cromwell's whore.
Yeah, I know. So I actually have two favorite things in this movie, believe it or not. And as I just said, I didn't like it because I don't think you guys are going to pick either of them.
Oh, I thought we were
Okay.
going to have to like torture it
No.
out of you.
One
Put you on a cross.
is I thought that the main character Talon was very handsome. He had a very handsome face.
Is this the first appearance of handsomeness on the podcast?
I think it might be.
I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about people's muscles before. but-
Yeah,
Traps.
he has a handsome face, but like everyone else in this movie, horrible wig.
Well, that's my second favorite thing. It's the wigs. Everyone has a wig, and like I would say that the wig budget was out of control, but I don't think they paid that much for these wigs.
Insane.
It's like dollar store wigs.
Especially at the end in that dinner scene, everyone just has the most
Men and
comical
women.
wig.
Yeah.
I think that my favorite thing is definitely how unabashedly Albert Pyun jumps into these fantasy tropes. He's not trying to like buffer them for an audience or be like, how do I adapt this cinematically?
Yeah.
In fact, it's probably the opposite, where he's just like, I love this in the novel. Let's just put it on screen. There's actually some fun like genre like undercutting expectations. Like there's this big long scene where a bunch of mercenaries are like, we're gonna go save Talon, and he's like, are you in? Yes. Are you in? Yeah, let's go do it. And then it cuts to them in jail.
I'll never listen to you again.
Yeah, there was some comedy in there, which was okay.
There was the good scene where it's like they're all in the brothel or whatever, and then all the sort of beds have like kind of sheets over so you can't see, and they're all like, oh yeah, let's go rescue Talon, and then like somebody pulls the sheet and he's on top of like a prostitute, like,
Yeah.
I'll join you, and then the next guy pulls his sheet
You've
off.
got my axe.
Man, as like a kid, I thought that scene was the funniest thing. Me and my cousin would just laugh our asses off.
What's your favorite part, Colin?
Oh, the one thing that, the only thing I can remember about the fucking like three-bladed sword that shoots blades out like missiles.
What if April got that? Like me and April got together. We got it for like your birthday.
Oh my
And it
God.
actually shot the swords.
What? Like it killed both of you by accident?
Yeah. The thing is, like, it looks really cool, but I think it was made of like aluminum because you could tell it's
I
not.
mean, it's very cheap.
It's not really heavy, but the cool thing is when he faces off against the monster, or was it Richard Lynch at the end? He already shot one blade, so he has two, and then he gets rid of one and is like, "I'm gonna sword fight you like man to man,
Yeah.
just one blade." Like he's so cool, he's not even gonna use the extra blade.
So then this last scene that you're talking about, the sorcerer comes back for the first time since the friggin' beginning of
I
the movie.
love how like operatic and hellish the final scene is. Like Talon is crucified in front of this giant dinner, and he's so powerful. He just like pulls himself out
Pulls
of
his
pulls the
hand
nails out of his
his
hand,
hands.
and then he yells. That's the other thing that I remember. He goes,
It's like,
Cromwell.
and she's gonna marry.
It's like an
Cromwell.
Eisensteinian Russian epic where you see like Talon fighting 1,000 men.
yeah, it's amazing.
And he's like swinging from by like a
Swashbuckling.
like a
great.
curtain.
But I gotta say, like, the one thing that really kind of stood out, I don't know if in a good way, was the music. It's so
yeah,
bombastic.
fuck.
And talk about, like the end credits of like, okay, they're like, do Indiana Jones, but not like Indiana Jones that we're gonna get sued, but pretty much just Indiana
So it
Jones.
sounded like, but it was like very John Williams and very like the end scene where our heroes are like killing all the bad guys. It's like super super happy music.
And like heads are being cut in
Oh,
half.
yeah.
And, like arms are being
And
lopped
it's like
off.
the one
April's
violent
like, this
scene.
is very inappropriate.
Yeah, it was so good.
This music is so inappropriate.
But yeah, you mentioned when the sorcerer. Okay, so the sorcerer, who is like a huge like 6 foot tall orc, or 8 foot tall. He was high. He was in disguise as like the king's
Cromwell's
advisor,
advisor.
and then like he busts out of his.
That's a cool effect.
Yeah,
body.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Rips like the skin out.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
Yeah, gross.
it looks great. It's good special effects.
And then he's like instantly dispatched.
Swords, my only weakness.
He gets shot by one of Talon's swords, and then he like pops up at the end as Talon's hugging like the woman.
Yeah. The classic slasher, like.
And then Talon's like, he's got this blade in his hand. I guess like he gets his hand crushed at the beginning when he's a young lad, and for the entire movie he's kind of wearing this weird glove contraption, and then you realize, a little like a spike comes out and he kills the sorcerer, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's the last of the sorcerer.
End of the movie.
That's the sorcerer that's in the title of the movie.
That's the titular sorcerer.
Titular sorcerer is in like
he's through the whole movie.
He's felt. His presence is felt.
We didn't know it was him. He was in disguise.
Yeah, that's true.
The
I
mustache, you don't know. So this movie was a massive hit, which is why everybody remembers it. $40 million on a $4 million budget.
That's insane.
And
So Albert Pyun, he must have been the sky's the limit after this. Do whatever movie you want, right?
Nope, because what ended up happening was the film was credited to the producer, Barry Chase. As Colin noticed, the film starts with a Barry Chase film.
Yeah, and I thought that was a pseudonym.
Nope, it's the producer, because Albert Pyun at the time didn't have that much power, and he was kind of steamrolled when the picture came out. So Albert Pyun moved to Radioactive Dreams, a film that me and April love.
That was his second movie?
That was a second movie.
Really,
but it
really good movie.
Came out 3 years later, and that was another disaster. And he got taken away from that film by the Bond Company. But to know more about that, you have to read my book. But we watched another film that Albert is known for, probably his most famous contribution to cinema, and that's Cannon's Captain America.
The first Avenger.
Yeah,
What?
that's right.
With Chris
No, that's not. We're talking about the other charismatic dynamo, Matt
J.D. Salinger's
son, Matt
Salinger. Oh, God. He's like a charisma vacuum.
So we're going to go back to Colin, just because Colin remembers this movie coming out or renting it on video.
I rented it when it came out because, like, this was 1990. This was right after Batman. And we were just talking about the poster before we started recording, but the poster is exactly the same as Batman. It's just like a black background with the Captain America shield. And my friends and I rented it one night. We watched it.
How excited were you?
Pretty excited. I don't know if it was like, oh my God, Captain America's out. We would just go to the video store, hang out for an hour.
Like, were you a fan of Captain America?
No one was a fan of Captain
really.
America. No.
Not really. It was just like, hey, Batman was good. This has a similar looking cover. Let's rent it.
USA.
Oh, yeah.
The foreign land.
I don't remember if we liked the movie. I don't think we did, but with certain scenes that we'll talk about later.
I mean, let's just say what your favorite part is right off the bat, because it is what the film is undoubtedly the most famous for.
But to be honest, this wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Colin's like, it's really boring, and it's very well known, in the bad movie community for being a really shitty superhero movie. But
I actually kind of liked it more this time.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's better than I remembered.
But come on, Colin, what was your favorite part?
Well, it's like Captain America does this twice in the film. Not once, but twice. And so he's in a car with Ned Beatty, and the first thing he asked him to pull over, he's like, "Excuse me, can you pull over? I'm going to be sick."
I think I'm going to be sick.
So they pull over to the side of the road. He kind of like walks 20 feet away from the car, bent over. Oh, and then the person comes out. "Oh, are you okay?" And then he quickly runs back to the car, gets in the driver's seat, and drives away.
He does it twice.
And then he has it done to him, so he gets the
April
taste
pointed
of his own
out
medicine.
that Captain America's true superpower in this film is distraction.
Yeah.
He's one step away from being, all right, let's face up. Hey, what's that over there?
He's such a loser in this film.
He does that the entire movie.
Okay,
but that gag, that was the running gag between me and my friends for years. Like, I would say like more than probably like 20 years after that movie, we would do that.
It's so funny.
It's so funny. And it's the only thing we remembered from the movie.
So, as April said, and I pitched this movie when we started to watch it, because that's what I called the article that I wrote about it is, what if Captain America was a loser? Because there's no doubt watching the movie that that's how he is portrayed. And I mean, that's my favorite part in this movie is Matt Salinger's performance.
Because it's not just his performance.
It's just his look.
Yeah.
Because like Matt Salinger, if you look at him very quickly, you'd be like, oh, I can see he has like the kind of cut of like the jaw,
The square
of a
jaw.
superhero. But he has like such big doe eyes, and his mouth is often just like open, like
a
"Oh?"
fish.
Yeah, and he
dumb look.
is so inexperienced, and he's constantly getting people killed, and people are constantly saving him throughout this picture.
Yeah.
What happened to Matt Salinger after this movie?
He acted in like 2-3 things, not much.
How did he get this job?
He probably just auditioned and he got it. Albert Pyun was really big on casting unknowns or just people that had looks that he liked. And I think that he probably reacted to the sympathetic look of Matt Salinger, not thinking that like him in this costume is so funny.
It's so he's such a bad fit.
Yes.
Not
I mean, the whole
physically, but just the look of his face.
And physically.
Yeah.
'Cause, like the costume was hell to wear because
Yeah.
it's like rubber and he's oftentimes in the sun.
I was sweating just watching him.
But the eye holes are, as Colin pointed out, too far apart. The mouse is huge.
Yeah.
And he looks kind of like one of those toys you would have gotten at the dollar store, like those stretchy men.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Stretch Armstrong. Yeah.
Is that like he doesn't have any shoulders. It just kind of goes down.
But they've padded. It's like
So
when
it's
he's
like
in,
he's wearing shoulder pads, kind
yeah,
of.
but it doesn't look like
But they have
proper
no definition.
No, it's like as I said. It looks like they've stuffed his shoulders with like crumpled up newspapers.
Yeah.
Sometimes look like he has a hunchback.
Yeah, they're very
Yeah,
lumpy.
he's hunching the whole movie. I don't know.
So we should start, like, this film begins with a small Italian boy being captured and turned into the Red Skull.
Sure.
The classic
Italian
Red
villain.
Skull.
No, maybe I missed it. What was their plan?
Just to capture a boy and make him
But
into a
what were
red
they trying to make him into?
a superhero. It's all about coulda, not shoulda.
And it went
Yeah.
bad, and it turned his face red.
Yes.
Well, they show the rat to the
stop
Germans,
motion rat.
which is really good.
Oh,
by the way, I
right.
really like
Yeah.
this.
It looked like the rat in Dead Alive, but I know April hasn't seen that movie.
Still haven't seen that.
Yeah, but the rat looks like Red Skull. It's like all of his skin is gone and he's kind of like melted. But the rat turns around, arr, and he's
And
got
they
like,
were like, "Let's do this to this little boy."
Yeah, and then
Okay.
7 years later, oh man, there's a lot of title cards and time jumps in this movie.
Yeah.
So we meet All American Boy,
Matt Salinger.
Matt Salinger.
Yeah, you could even like remember his name. That's a little of an
Steve
impact.
Rogers.
He's my favorite part in this movie.
Really?
And he's breaking up with his family because he has to go become a super soldier. And his favorite girl, which I pointed out watching the film this time, they cut all of her dialogue out because there's a jump in the music when she appears.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
That's weird.
And he gets turned into a super soldier, which leads to the funniest Heil Hitler in cinema history.
you posted like a GIF online.
yeah, I
right?
did.
It's out there. I think
It's really
everyone's
funny.
probably seen it, where he goes to shake someone's hand,
And he's
then
like, Heil Hitler! And then he shoots her
Shoots
in one
everybody.
shot.
It's like the old secret Heil Hitler.
Yeah. And then Matt Salinger does what he does best as Captain America. Get shot and fall unconscious.
Yeah. And then he's strapped to a rocket, and then
No, you're skipping too much because he is heroic because like he's hurt and then the generals are like, oh, he needs to come to, he needs to go do a mission, and he like gets up out of and he's like, tell me what I have to do. And then we're introduced to his costume as he waits impatiently to jump out of a plane.
Not just impatiently, he's terrified.
yeah, he's
like,
covered in sweat.
Yeah, and he's like, I wish I had time to train
Train.
for this, but I have no training. I have no experience. I got nothing. I'm just strong now. And he no longer has polio. But like, he's such a kind of like, I don't want to say a coward, but he's like,
No, he's heroic.
He's nervous though.
And he's often winded.
Yeah, he's scared. He's scared of everything, but he gets out there and does it anyway.
And he gets to the Red Skull's base. There's a fun action scene. He's like blowing stuff up, using
Yeah.
his shield, very plasticky shield.
that was a cool looking shot where he throws the shield at like some watchtower and that kind of collapses.
Oh
It's
yeah,
kinda cool.
it's a miniature watchtower,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it looks
stop
good.
motion shield.
Yeah, I love
yeah.
it. I don't know. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, I like that. And then he faces off against the Red Skull, who looks amazing. He's like got
Yeah.
cold, dead gray eyes.
Yeah, they couldn't do the nose removal.
That's fine.
back then, which is fine. You
Well,
know,
then
it
he
worked.
would really look like Skeletor, which is
Yeah.
what I was reminded of. Only the Red Skull here looks much, much better.
And so Captain America fights him, quickly loses, and is
Yeah.
strapped to a rocket.
gets the crap beaten out of him. Like I don't even know if he lands a punch against Red Skull.
Well, it's his first day.
It's his first mission. And then he gets shot up into space to
then
blow up up the White House.
On the way, he sees a little boy somehow from a
On the rocket.
and then he bangs the rocket, and then he is frozen in a block of ice. Flash forward 50 years later.
The president, who was also that little boy who took a photo of the rocket coming to Captain America.
Yeah.
It's as difficult to imagine in the movie as it is me saying it.
Yeah.
It's a really convoluted plot.
Is the president of the United States, and he wants to put forward a Green New Deal.
Which is insane. It was like watching this, it's like, wow.
And he goes like, if we don't do this, we're going to die. And now it's too late, and we're going to die in the next few years.
Slowly.
This was 1990.
So you were an adult in 1990. What was this like before like environmentalism was
30
like
years
a
ago.
thing?
No, this was like kind of on the cusp of it becoming a thing.
Because like growing up in the 90s, there's your Captain Planet and like every like cartoon or like even like Saved by the Bell, they all had like an environmental episode.
It was,
you know?
It was more about it had nothing to do with like global warming or climate change or anything like that. It was more just about polluting water and that sort of thing.
which we're still
Acid
doing.
rain was a big thing in the 80s. That
The credits we noticed, because we watched all of them for a specific reason we'll get into later, ends with please, I think vote with the Environmental Protection Act of 1990.
yeah, it was something like
Yeah,
that.
they had a message, you know, and I applaud them for that. But the funny thing about the time jump is that they do this really cheesy like newspaper montage
Oh, yeah, that's
of
great.
like all the presidents and like it's very
with different music of the
cheesy.
eras.
Yeah, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
It was pretty funny.
And then it's a while before we see Captain America.
But when you do, some people find him in where is it, Alaska?
Yeah.
Somewhere
It is
in
Alaska.
Alaska.
Yeah, somewhere in
and
Alaska.
he dethaws partially, and then he breaks out the ice, and then he just runs to Canada. Literally,
Like, literally runs
to Canada.
and then they find him somehow.
And he's very winded.
Oh yeah,
He's lost.
and his like outfit is in tatters. It's all shredded and
And then
dirty.
the first people he meets shoot him in the shoulder.
Yeah, because they're actually the secret Nazis who are still around. And then he meets Ned Beatty, and he has that scene that Colin described. And then he drives from the Yukon, which is in Canada, to California.
So he hitches a
Doesn't
ride on a
drive.
truck.
Oh, right. He
gets
hitches
in
a ride on a truck.
He gets in
on
a
the way.
Molson Canadian truck.
Oh God.
Well, I guess people in California love Molson,
Yeah.
Molson export.
Delivered right from the Yukon, right where it's made.
Hey, if any of you live in California, do you guys even have Molson down there?
I don't
We
think
don't
so.
even.
They have it in the States, but it's under like the foreign import.
Yeah, but that's like Budweiser for us. Like no one drinks
Exactly.
Molson Canadian.
yeah,
Molson
exactly.
stock ale is okay, but that's like but like Canadian, no.
Ugh, maybe it was better in the 1990s. So
no.
Captain America finds his old girlfriend in terrible old age makeup.
As April said, she looks like the Red Skull.
A little bit. They gave her liver spots.
Because we didn't point out. We said that I made a point to say the Red Skull looks awesome because in the present day and for the rest of the movie, he looks like a Dick Tracy villain.
Yeah.
And, okay, so maybe it would make sense that, they didn't want to do his makeup every day. It was very complex, so they wanted to do something simpler. Nope. The makeup looks just as complicated as the Red Skull makeup.
Yeah, it's a full facial makeup with like airbrushing. You can see everything. It's like scars.
They call me Mr. Lumps.
Yeah, and it's like the same kind of mask, except it's kind of skin tone, but it's a little reddish. So I think it's supposed to be either that he grew skin eventually, or the character is using makeup. But either way,
Leave it the Red Skull.
I don't know.
He's the Red Skull. They call him
the Red Skull all the time.
I don't understand it. So he's wearing these double-breasted suits. So he just looks like, and he's got black slick back hair.
They want to make him look like the Joker, kind of. I guess
He just looks like an Italian businessman.
Like a
he looks
mafia
like
man.
he looks like a mafia.
And
It's
at one
like
point, he has like a Tommy gun.
yeah, it's like that's what I think of when I think of the Red Skull. It's just like some mafioso.
that is guaranteed to be like a producer decision. Like we can't have him as a Red Skull the entire time.
I guess.
But the thing
It's
is,
just so
like,
weird.
to live his life, he's not walking around. He never leaves
I
his
know.
castle that he
He's
lives
in a compound the whole movie.
He
so
doesn't need to.
It makes no sense.
And then his daughters are kind of his henchmen, or his one daughter.
His one daughter, I think.
But it's like they basically look like three bored rich supermodels that just got back from shopping in like Milan or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, every time the Red Skull's daughters are hunting Captain America, there's like some electro pop new wave plays. It's
Yeah.
like,
they had like a theme song.
yeah, they have a theme song because they're the main threat against Captain America. And
Yeah.
Captain America, he just kind of wanders into things.
Stumbles.
Yeah. Two people he cares about are brutally murdered
Instantly.
Yeah.
As soon as he shows up.
Ned Beatty gets a shotgun to the back, and the love of his life, we don't even see her die. We just see her zipped up into a body bag.
With like blood all over her face.
But then her husband survives.
Yeah,
I
he
think-
got shot in like the shoulder.
But then you never see him again. He's
No,
in the
he's in the
hospital.
hospital. I think it was to take away Captain America's great love so he could get together with her daughter.
The daughter.
Yeah.
I love trade up to the younger model.
There's an amazing scene where his girlfriend's like, I waited for you for so long. And Captain America's like, I guess maybe it just wasn't meant to be.
No, clearly not. Yeah. Okay, my favorite part. There's a really good sequence, and it's supposed to be somewhere in Italy. Was it Milan?
I don't know.
The walled city.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it says.
Yugoslavia.
That's where it was shot. And there's a cool sequence where they're running around getting chased by the assassins, the 80s new wave band looking guys, and they're shooting at them, but they're also like running around corners, and they get on a bicycle at one point. And the one thing that Captain America can do is that he can like do flips in the air.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he could do flips.
He does that a couple times,
Yeah.
and it's pretty cool. And it's saying it reminds me of Jim Cotta because there's a cool scene where he's running through all the hallways and outdoor alleys, and
Yeah,
there's no
very
spinning around
similar.
like that, unfortunately. But it was a good sequence.
But I think it's the same location they shot Jim
It
Cotta.
looks so
Yeah.
similar.
It's
It
a
looks
walled
like it, yeah.
city.
Yeah.
And Captain America jumps on a bike, and you hear him off screen be like, "There's no brakes."
and then he goes over a cliff into the water, and they just stay underwater.
We really expected like his body to come floating to the
But
top.
the stupid assassins are like, oh, they're not coming up. I guess
guess
they're
he's
dead.
dead.
And then they just waited 5 seconds, and then they come up.
Bike accidents. That's what takes out most people in
Exactly.
Italy.
Especially like a super soldier.
We haven't pointed out how much of like a dum-dum Captain America is. So like their mission is to find who the Red Skull is for some undefined reason. And at one point they're sitting at a restaurant and Captain America's like, can we look him up in a phone book?
Well, he kidnaps the president, but even before that, I don't know I'm not sure what.
Well, I think it's Ned Beatty saying, like, in the car to Captain America, we have reason to believe that Red Skull was responsible for the death of Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy.
Yes.
And all these other murders throughout the years or something like that.
he's
So they
on
need
the
to find
case.
him.
Yeah.
But then Red Skull's plan is to capture President Ronnie Cox.
Yes. No new green deals for America.
No way
and the
we're going to
world.
pollute. And then he's going to implant him with some radio control device so that he can control Ronnie Cox.
his actions.
So it's very hazy.
Yeah.
And that line of radio control is actually said off screen. So I think what Colin said during the movie is that the Red Skull wanted to take Ronnie Cox's like skin or something like that and wear it. Because at one point he goes, I'm going to be the president.
That's what I thought the
Yeah.
plan was, which would make sense because then I was like, oh, he's going to take off his fake skin and really
Right.
reveal he's still the Red Skull and then put on Ronnie Cox's face or something. I don't know. It's like it's like Dark Man.
Lumpy. He's like, it's me, Ronnie Cox.
It's like Dark Man.
Well, at least that would
eat a peach for hours.
or Face Off.
Well, that could probably explain, like, that he can. He has the ability to like transfer faces onto his own or something like that.
Is that
You know what I
at
mean?
all in the other Captain America? Because I can't even remember. I did see that
Not
the
the
new
movies.
one.
No.
I'm sure
Okay.
in the comics, the Red Skull has taken other identities.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And worn like masks and stuff like. But it's
Oh,
not
because
like.
Makes
yeah,
sense.
no, sorry, he does because he becomes Hugo Weaving.
Yes, and
he
he
has like a
pulls it
fake
off.
mask that he pulls
I
off.
thought so, but I
Yeah.
just haven't seen that since like it came out.
Yeah,
so
you're
I
right,
don't
you're right.
remember because like he's got a red face, like he probably wants to wear faces. But the other thing about the Red Skull in this movie is that his plan is so undefined. After he loses the president, he's just like, I'm just gonna blow us all up.
Like not just blow us all up, like blow up the entire Eastern. Like he's like
Yeah.
Europe.
Including his daughters. I don't even think if he knows that if the president is still on site. Like,
yeah.
what was his plan?
I mean, this is a movie that when it came out, it's not a good Captain America adaptation. It's terrible.
no,
it's
it's
real
awful.
bad. But in a world with tons of good Captain America movies, like 7, I think, it's fun. Because it's super goofy.
Yeah.
Matt
different,
Salinger
yeah.
is always funny when he's on screen.
I think it all comes back to him, and he just has this dopey look on his face and his eyes and like this.
And the action is like shot in like a wide angle, kind of goofy comic book way.
Yeah.
It's not satisfying in the way that if you were a kid, you're like, I want to see Captain America do these things. But it's fun to see on screen, like him jumping on a bike.
Yeah.
There's one fun action scene, probably the most satisfying one, that was a reshoot they did afterwards because the movie didn't have enough action.
Oh, was that in like the dark factory?
Yeah, the dark like factory that we're like, how did they get here?
Yeah, that's right. It's like, it makes no sense.
But in a diner.
It's underneath the diner.
It's a giant, because it's a secret compound.
Yeah.
I mean, even the final fight is really fun because it's in this like giant castle that it looks like Jess Franco shot there, for all the Franco heads listening to this. And Captain America is still a goofball who constantly has to be saved by Ronnie Cox.
Ronnie Cox, yeah.
Yeah, Ronnie Cox, who is, a much older man, but he's the president, and he's punching people, he's throwing him his shield, and everybody is more competent, really, than Captain America.
Yeah,
is in
and
this
it leads
movie.
to like
the daughter is for sure.
It leads to that great line, the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
President.
you.
And then
Thanks.
Captain America gives a very like
And he looks
shaky.
He looks like he's cross-eyed.
Yeah, he does.
It's a really funny shot.
Captain America is like, distract him, Mr. President, so I'll go behind him and attack him.
But I really did I wouldn't say this is like everybody should go see this, but I did enjoy myself watching this. And this is one of these movies that we often say, if you're having like a party, you could put it on, because there's scenes interspersed where like you don't need to necessarily sit down and watch it, but there's enough where if it's just kind of on in the same room as you can point
maybe.
and laugh and
Well,
enjoy it.
Anytime he's on, anytime he's on screen with a costume, it's
funny.
You're just gonna laugh.
It's enjoyable.
I didn't point out that like this is a film that supposedly when it was being made, everybody loved the script. And like a few weeks before shooting, Canon Films, who at this point was going under 21st Century,
right?
They cut the budget like 1/10 of what it is, and they had to struggle to finish it. Albert Pyun said that if the line producer, his good friend from when they were kids in Hawaii, hadn't shown up on some days with a briefcase full of money, that they could not have continued to make the movie.
Oh my God.
And Albert Pyun said himself that on some days they didn't have enough film for the camera, so he and the crew, like the crew closest to him, would pretend that they were shooting, even though they weren't.
There was nothing in the camera?
There was nothing in the camera.
Oh my God.
Because he knew that if they stopped and he freaked everybody out, that they would not be able to get started again.
Okay.
It's like a runner that, like, if you stop running, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm
Yeah, you
tired,
gotta
I
keep
can't
that,
start
like,
running.
keep that
You have to
train
keep
going.
That's classic Pyun. That's how he always rolled in these
Oh my
impossible
God.
situations that he would. I don't want to say he got himself into it, but
Right.
he
found
did,
himself
Yeah, but he did love to like push as hard as he could.
Yeah.
And like any sane person would have been like,
Screw this. I'm
yeah,
outta
screw
here.
this. I'm not doing this. Oh, maybe not sane. Any person who's like, I don't like feeling pain.
Yeah.
And Albert Pyun's like, no, we can do it. We can do it. Like most of the action in this movie is shot like in front of like a black cloth.
Oh yeah, you pointed that out, and
Yeah.
then as soon as you did, it's like I could not see it.
Because when they hadn't shot all the action, Cannon was like, oh, we'll shoot it when we get back to LA. And then Cannon was like, man, we don't have the money for that. And Pyun was like, okay, I'll shoot some stuff.
And so he just like tarp out a room with black
and
cloth.
so like I think there's like a shot of like Captain America punching a guy, of like
Yeah.
him flipping out of the way, or like guns going off,
Yeah.
all in front of like this black background. It's expressionist, guy.
Well, you never notice once it's cut into the movie,
So where can you find this movie? This is actually on Blu-ray. Captain America.
which was an amazing transfer, by the way.
Yeah, Shout Factory put it out.
Anything they do is great.
Yeah, totally worth it, I would say, if you want to see this movie, because it looks great.
Like,
Sounds
it-
good too.
Yeah, it's like certain shots I was like looking at. I'm like, this looks like a modern movie. Like,
Yeah.
it looks so good.
I think you can get it as well, because Shout usually puts their stuff on iTunes to rent, right? Or buy.
Yeah, I think so.
So it should be available. Sword and the Sorcerer, a little bit more difficult to get
that was a tough one.
a hold of.
Yeah.
Anchor Bay put it out in the early 2000s, but it went out of print and it hasn't come back yet. And I can only imagine it's because the rights issues are like crazy.
I think it is on Prime, on Amazon Prime, but it's the
It's a
Riff
Tracks
Tracks
version.
Oh,
Don't watch
wow.
that. Yeah.
I know, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, don't watch it as a Riff Tracks version. Watch it for real so you can hear the bombastic music for yourself.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and I mean, I would only recommend that if you are into like those types of movies.
if you're a fan of Lee Horsley,
yeah.
All you Lee Horsley heads out there.
all you horse heads.
So, Justin, your book, which is called Radioactive Dreams,
The Cinema of Albert Pyun.
That's available now. How can people buy it?
They can pick it up on Amazon, all the Amazons, because it's being published through their service. So they just kind of like put it on like Amazon.Italy, Amazon.France. It's all over the place. For people that are curious, the project is I watched all of Albert Pyun's 44 films and wrote little blurb/histories, mostly kind of like critical breakdowns of every picture. And people who have read it have said that it's actually a really good read from beginning to end because it's like the story of his career and where he kind of ended up and how he wouldn't give up, and a few things that I discovered just doing research. Like, don't you want to know about the secret film he shot in 3 days and on the set of Cyborg?
Yes.
Well, you can read about it in this book.
All right.
You also kind of review the movies too, right? Like,
Yeah,
you give
I review the
your
movies.
opinion of them.
Yes, it's my personal opinion.
Can you say which one is your favorite movie that he's done? It's probably hard to pick.
Actually, if you look on Amazon and you look at like the preview of the book, like the fourth page is I put like little top 5 of like the essential Albert Pyun,
Oh, cool,
the
yeah.
experimental, the underrated, the just fun, like pure fun, and I think like
Pyun fun.
yeah, the essential ones are probably Nemesis, Mean Guns, Radioactive Dreams. Favorite of me and April's. And
Yeah, I think that's my favorite out of what I've seen.
yeah, I don't remember what the other two are. But you just look at that list and you'll see like, ooh, but buy the book. You need context for these movies. It's easier to watch a
Exactly.
movie and be like, oh, it was shot in 3 days on the set of Cyborg. Oh, I appreciate it a little bit more and I understand how it was made. Oh, this film was shot on the set of Kickboxer 2 because they had a few extra days. Yes, I'm speaking of the film Blood Match.
And just so y'all know, Radioactive Dreams is about these 2 little boys who grew up in a bomb shelter because a radioactive bomb goes off. Their parents put them down in there, one of them played by George Kennedy. And then they wake up and it's the apocalyptic future where everybody has like crazy punk outfits, but they read 1930s spy novels and talk like 1930s gumshoes. And there's also music.
Oh, it's like a Streets of Fire level soundtrack.
It's a really
just like
crazy
I was so upset. I was
35 millimeter.
I
too,
know.
when we played it.
I missed it. I was in Milwaukee and I was so angry.
Is that available
No, it's
anywhere?
available in Germany. They released
Yeah,
it,
my
but
friend
it's
got one.
not a very good transfer.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know when that movie. The thing is that like a lot of Albert Pyun's early films, they were like weird distribution deal with a bunch of producers, and he raised the money independently. And because of that, the rights are all tangled, and that's why none of them have been released. And a lot of them don't have the cult following that they should. Like something like Radioactive Dreams doesn't really have it.
That,
so.
like,
I never even heard of it.
That's probably why, because it's just not available and people don't know about it because they can't get it, right? But the funny thing about that is like George Kennedy is top billed and he is in like 1.5 scenes. He's in 5 minutes of the
One
movie.
and a half. But you know who the 2 stars of the movie,
Yeah.
Michael Dudikoff, the American ninja himself.
Yeah.
No shit.
Dudikoff and the other
John
guy.
Stockwell, the co-star of Christine. He plays
Wait,
the bully.
As the young kids?
Well,
One of them
they're,
is
like,
Michael.
the main guys.
Well, when they grow up,
when
they're
they
the
grow up.
stars.
One of them is Michael Dudikoff?
Yeah.
And he's Michael Dudikoff like you've never seen him before.
Yeah.
He kind of talks like this the entire time, and he's moving, and
He's
like,
the nerdy one.
Oh my
And
God.
the other guy is like the
serious
cool
one, yeah.
guy.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
He's like, we're just a couple of dicks, and they're like dancing. The film ends on a musical number.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
It's pretty great.
Oh man.
But yeah, if anyone out there can find it, or even watch like some bootleg of it that you can find, watch it.
You can get it on Amazon, probably like Germany, Amazon.de, and it's on eBay. I've seen it on there as well. So I'd recommend checking it out like that.
Man.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
actually, Cyborg: The Director's Cut was another essential
Wasn't there
one.
like a black and white version of that?
Yeah, so the director's cut has not been released in black and white,
Right.
but Pyun said that that's how he prefers it.
Okay.
So you can just turn the saturation down on your TV and
Oh, okay.
boom, you got a black and white Cyborg. And
You know,
'cause-
that's what everybody says when, Frank Darabont was like, watch The Mist in
Yeah.
black and white. Hey, just turn the saturation down on your TV. And he's like, no.
oh no, I need to color correct it.
Everybody, Mad Max, the Fury Road, like black and chrome edition.
The amazing thing about the Cyborg director's cut is that everybody knows that movie is like a cheesy 80s
Yeah.
film with like a doot, doot, doot MIDI score. And the biggest change is that the director's cut, which is called Slinger, has like a muddy kind of like doom metal score. It's like,
Oh.
damn. It's like feedback the entire time.
Sweet.
Yep. So I would check that out. That's also available on a German label, released it on Blu-ray. So check that out.
Yeah, I also like Doll Man, which is another Albert Pyun, which is a movie that
Not an essential one.
We wanted to watch it, and I was like, "Oh, Albert Pyun directed this, awesome!" And it was a little disappointing,
It's kinda
but
boring.
I think it's totally worth seeing.
It's very boring.
It's good.
Doll Man
It's
hangs
okay.
out in an apartment for 50 minutes.
Yeah, no, we
Jackie Earle
like
Haley's-
Trancers. That's
I
the
know.
one.
I get that confused with Trancers because he has the same outfit.
Trancers was awesome.
Trancers is good.
Yeah,
not Albert Pyun.
No.
Yeah, those are the two films that Albert Pyun made for Full Moon were Arcade and Doll Man.
I've probably seen the cover for Arcade.
Yeah, it
The
was a
poster.
very early VR film.
Oh.
Yeah, that's up Colin's alley.
Oh,
we should have
it's
done
like,
that.
virtual reality.
Actually,
Save
I really
it.
don't like Arcade.
We'll save it for next time. And if you want to email the podcast, you can email us at nosuchthingasabadmovie@gmail.com. And we're on Twitter at nosuchthingpod. And if you want to tweet at me, I'm at April at Mansky. And consider donating to the Patreon, where every 2 weeks we have a new mini-sode.
What's our next one, April?
The next one is The Amazing Spider-Mans.
Amazing.
Too many Spider-Man.
Well, aren't there enough Spider-Mans
Turn
these
off
days?
the dark.
Oh, that's another
Jesus.
one.
Wait, are you one
I
of the
wish
people who are like, my Spider-Man's white and Caucasian? No, thank you. No Into the Spider-Verse.
I wish I got to see that hot mess, which is Turn Off the Dark.
I'd love to see.
Man, if there was like a video version like there was of Cats, like a theatrical.
I'm sure
I've
there
only
is.
seen
Oh, you mean like a
clips.
movie version?
No, he means
Well-
like the entire musical filmed.
Yeah, there is. There's
is there?
bootlegs. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's bootlegs out there.
That would be so
There's like a
amazing.
weird Broadway bootleg, kind of like they'll appear on YouTube
Market?
very briefly
Yeah,
and
and then they get
disappear.
taken down,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
that
if you know
sound-
where to look, you know what? You just made me. Those songs are so bad.
Oh, they're awful. Awful.
And they were made. It was Julie Taymor directed. She's like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like Spider-Man.
That was
one
like a
that's,
disaster.
Villain like me or something, and all the villains come out. Yeah.
But that's a play that was workshopped like 4 times and like radically changed.
That's right. I remember
Yeah.
it came out and there
Yeah.
was like all these injuries because people were like the Spider-Man stuntmen were like
falling.
falling off like this fucking
Poor
ceiling.
actors.
Yeah, and it was like constant injuries, and then it went like put on hold and reworked, and it was just again and again and again, and then it just like disappeared.
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know.
it
It
was
probably
a
made a
big
ton of cash,
failure.
I'm sure.
Yep. And that's not what we're talking about on Patreon. We're talking about Andy Garfield's Spider-Man.
Can we change it?
What?
Can we change it? and
Into
review
the darkness?
Yeah, let's do that.
Great, got it, great.
Or just remove the review the movie Garfield.
Bill Murray?
Yes, that's what. Every time you see Andrew Garfield, you're like, I love Garfield. Lasagna.
You know what? I
hate Mondays.
hate Mondays.
Let's go to the Toronto Garfield
Yeah,
restaurant.
There's a Garfield restaurant in Toronto now.
Is it still open?
Yes. I assume it's very popular.
So they just
Jim
sell
Davis
like
runs it.
yeah, he's in the back. He's making lasagna.
Yep.
Jesus fucking Christ! How much more lasagna can they eat?
Justin, where can people find you?
You can find me on the Important Cinema Club, a podcast I do every week, importantcinemaclub.com. And listen next week after hearing this episode, because I'm doing one on Albert Pyun with my co-host Will Sloan as well.
Oh,
and we're
great.
doing different movies. We're going to be talking about more of the essential ones and
Doll
probably
Man.
getting into the dregs
Oh,
of the
okay.
90s movies, the late 90s movies, where he made 3 urban thrillers in 18 days with Ice-T and Snoop Dogg.
What in each one of them?
Well, I mean,
You'll have to listen to
Snoop
find
Dogg
out.
appears for 10 seconds in documentary footage in one of
Okay,
them, but he
okay.
appears on the cover. Albert Pyun had a deal to make an anthology film, but he decided to go down and make it 3 feature films
All right,
instead.
there you go.
In 18 days.
That's amazing.
Yep. So Important Cinema Club, and on Twitter, Decloux J, DECLOUX, letter J. On Letterboxd, Justin Decloux. Nobody ever follows me on Letterboxd, even though I say it on here every week.
I'm still not on Letterboxd,
One
but
tier.
you should mention No Such Thing on the Important
I
Cinema
should,
Club
'cause,
because
like, a
people
lot of
don't
the-
seem to know.
No, they didn't.
Letterbox, isn't that where they cut off the top and the bottoms of the movies?
Nope, that happens at another factory.
It's a factory where they're cutting like
They're
film-
just
film
snipping.
Yep.
It's just an assembly line. Frame by frame, they do it. They have like slave labor.
So where can we find you, Colin?
On Twitter, at Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA. And also, now that we got talking about that play, I'm going to be online launching a campaign to get Into the Dark remade, relaunched. I want to see this.
Yeah, release
I
the
want to see
Spider-Man
this in
cut.
person. Re-release.
I thought you said like you wanted to be Spider-Man
No,
in the play.
I
like,
want to
I'm
see
reenacting it.
I want to
Peter
see this
Parker.
play. I will reenact it if I have to.
An older Peter
Release the Tamor cut.
Wait. April just said Colin can play Peter Parker.
Well, remember in Into the Spider-Verse where there's that older Peter Parker?
Yeah, like the fat.
Well, Colin.
No.
Colin's
Colin
not
could be Uncle Ben,
Wah, wah.
like the cool young Uncle Ben.
Hey,
he could
I'm
really
married
play-
to Marissa Tomei.
Tomei, now you're dead.
Now I'm dead.
to play Aquaman and the truer to the original look of Aquaman, which
When
is
you look at Colin,
a blonde
you're
guy.
thinking
You think
Aquaman.
you think Aquaman.
It's like you're
Yes.
thinking of like a golden-haired king.
yeah, just
King-
the
that's
rippling
that's you.
muscles.
You have golden hair.
Yeah, you love talking to fish.
Anyway, that's it for this week.
I do wear sparkly tights.
Check out some Albert Pyun movies and check out Justin's book.
Yes, please.
Until next week, I'm April Anetsky.
I'm Justin LeClue.
And I'm Colin Cunningham.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.
Yeah, Captain America's not that bad.